Across Live now to expert in political science and international relations, Dr. Simon Sipas, speaking to us from just north of Tel Aviv in the city of Netanyahu. You're most welcome today.
Hello, sir.
The conflict between Israel and Hamas, it doesn't look to be stopping, halting, weakening, even with renewed calls from the United Nations to end the violence. Where is this heading?
Well, I expect an open and direct encounter between IDF and Hezbollah in the near days. And if this occurs, probably there will be an open hostilities between Israel and Iran. And at this point, I think the coalition with the United States, British troops and French troops, which are arriving to Israel, will step in the conflict.
You see a whole lot of new fronts opening up in this conflict.
One possible front is at the north of Israel with the Hezbollah on the Lebanon border. Another front, which is now quiet, but we are expecting it also to wake up, is the West Bank, which has also many Palestinians. But one thing which is holding it down right now as of this point is that the Fatah and the Islamic Jihad, it's more or less controlled by the Palestinian authorities, Abu Mazen. And this Fatah is now not interested in hostilities with Israel, but the things are heating up also in the West Bank. So we actually expecting two more fronts to open, the West Bank and the Hezbollah on the northern border of Israel.
Can I get your thoughts on another issue? The New York Times is reporting a source saying the decision to undertake a limited ground incursion rather than a full-scale entry into Gaza right now follows guidance from top US military officials. Your thoughts, sir, on how much influence Washington has in that operation?
In my opinion, the US, in some extent, actually orchestrating this conflict behind the scenes and behind the decision-making processes in Israel, including within the Israeli military. One reason for this could be that not to escalate to an all-out war with Hezbollah, because then it will be necessary to deal with the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guards, which will be arriving, or at least will be trying to be sent by Tehran to take part with the war with Israel.
The UN resolution that recently passed calling for a ceasefire and also the decades-old call for a two-state solution. Does the UN, in your view, carry weight to have its resolutions enacted, or is it basically a talking shop as what's happening right now in Gaza?
Well, it's not the first time, nor the last time, when UN stands against Israel. Many voted against Israel because they don't want to stir up their Muslim communities in their home countries in EU, which will cause an unrest. But, we remember historically, even since our Prime Minister, Mrs. Golda Meir, when she said that Israel cannot take seriously the UN decisions because most of the UN resolutions are anti-Israeli. So we have to be cool and be cold-blooded when we actually receive such a feedback from UN, because we are fighting for our survival, and we must not to take it seriously. When I say seriously, I mean, of course, we respect this organization, but we clearly see that this organization, in most of the time, it's promoting anti-Israeli resolutions.
Benjamin Netanyahu has apologized for putting the blame on Israeli security forces for failing to warn of the Hamas attack beforehand. Just your view of that whole situation. You had, it appears, a lot of intelligence failures. The Netanyahu administration seemed to put it on them at the beginning and now is pulling back. What's happening in that regard?
Well, Benjamin Netanyahu will have absolutely, we will have to give some answers once we deal with this crisis, because after all, he is the head of our country. He is the prime minister. And now accusing our intelligence or IDF, well, first, it's not respectable to do this during the war. And second, Well, I don't think that he will manage to escape from his responsibility. It's just a matter of time.
Elon Musk has just essentially put a pause on his promise to provide Starlink satellite internet connection to humanitarian aid organizations in Gaza, saying he'll need approval from the US and Israel. Of course, Israel has its reasons for what's happening now, but should there be a no matter what scenario to rush humanitarian aid to Gaza, help those civilians that are being directly affected?
Well, first of all, in my opinion, Starlink either works for or with the U.S. military or for the Pentagon, because how come Starlink, which seemingly a private company, got so deeply involved in our Israeli Gaza Strip conflict? So, in my opinion, behind Starlink, it's either Pentagon, U.S. military, or even U.S. intelligence, and maybe some of the Israeli intelligence behind Starlink.
Dr. Simon Sippis, Doctor of Political Science and International Relations at Bonn University, we appreciate your time today.
Thank you, sir.